Pull that dish rag out of the drawer, the one you used this morning. Feel how clean it seems washed, dried, folded. Now I want you to take that same rag and drop it in a pot of boiling water with baking soda. Watch what comes out of it. I'm not talking about a rag that's been sitting in the sink for a week. I'm talking about a freshly laundered one. The water in that pot will go gray, then brown, then sometimes close to black. You'll see a film on the surface. You'll smell it. And you will never look at your dish rags the same way again. This is what I want to show you today. Not a fancy product, not a special spray. A pot, some water, a box of baking soda that costs $1, and about 15 minutes of your time. That's the whole thing. Let me back up and tell you why this matters, because it's not what most people think. You throw your kitchen towels in the wash. They come out looking clean, smelling like detergent. You fold them and put them back in the drawer. And here's what you've actually done. You've made them look and smell like clean. That's not the same thing as clean. Here's what a normal wash cycle actually does. The water and detergent loosen dirt and lift it off the fabric. A lot of it gets rinsed away. But what a lot means is not all of it. The things that actually kill bacteria are heat and time, and most home washing machines, especially the newer ones, don't give you enough of either. If you've got a high-efficiency front loader, it saves water by using less of it, which means the rags are tumbling in a shallow, lukewarm bath that's mostly suds. It's not a cleaning problem. It's a temperature problem. And there's something else nobody tells you about: the machine itself. The rubber seal around the door of a front loader stays damp. The drum stays damp. That's a place where bacteria set up and live. Every load that goes in picks some of that up on the way out. So your clean rag has been through water that passed over a surface that's been growing things for months. You can smell it on a bad day, that musty, sour note, when you open the door. That's not a coincidence. Kitchen rags are the worst case for this because of what they touch. Raw meat juice, raw egg, whatever's on your hands, the bottom of a pan, the inside of the sink. Then they fold up damp and sit in a drawer until you use them again. They're warm, they're dark, they hold moisture. If you wanted to grow bacteria, you couldn't design a better environment. Someone actually tested this. A survey looked at kitchen towels from regular households and found the majority had bacteria on them that you don't want on the hands that make your food, not from neglect, from normal everyday use and normal everyday washing. The washing machine didn't fix it. So here's what does. By the way, if this kind of method is what you're after, the kind where you already own what you need and you just have to know how to use it, I put everything I do in one book. Every trick I use to run this house for less written down in one place. It's on my website, links right below the video. Go grab it. I won't mention it again. Okay. Here's the method, and it is not complicated. You need a pot big enough to hold your dish rags with some room to move. Fill it with enough water to cover them. Don't stuff them in. They need to actually float around. Bring it to a boil. Once it's rolling, add about 1/4 cup of baking soda. Now, stop and keep an eye on it when you add the baking soda, because it'll froth up fast. Don't add it and walk away. Give it a stir, back the heat off just a tick if you need to, and let it settle. Once it calms down, put your rags in. Let them boil for 15 minutes. Stir them around once in a while with a long spoon or a pair of tongs. You don't need to hover, just don't forget them. Now watch the water while this happens. That color change, that's not dye coming out of the fabric. That's what was living in those fibers, that no regular wash cycle reached. It's grime that was locked into the weave, grease that didn't budge, the residue of weeks of kitchen work, all of it floating out into the water where you can see it. The boiling heat does 2 things at once. It opens up the fibers of the fabric so everything trapped in there can come loose, and it kills what's living in them. Bacteria can't survive in boiling water. That's not complicated science. That's just what extreme heat does. Things that can't handle it die. Full stop. The baking soda's job is separate. It makes the water slightly alkaline, more willing to break down grease and oils. It also handles the smell, that sour, flat odor that even clean dish rags sometimes have. Baking soda neutralizes that at the source, instead of just covering it with detergent scent. When you're done, they smell like cloth, plain cloth. That's what actually clean smells like. Keep your light-colored rags separate from dark ones, same as you would in laundry. You don't want colors bleeding into your whites. After 15 minutes, pull them out with tongs. They're going to be very hot. Don't just grab them. Let them cool in the sink or a colander, then rinse them well under running water. You'll feel the difference already. They'll be softer, they'll feel lighter, almost. Like the buildup that stiffened them over weeks has finally turned loose. Now here's the step that matters just as much as the boiling, and it's the one people skip. Don't put them in the dryer, hang them outside. In the sun. I know that sounds old-fashioned. It is old-fashioned. It also works. Sunlight, direct sunlight, not through a window, has been killing bacteria on fabric since long before there were washing machines or dryers or any of this. The light hits the surface of the cloth and damages whatever's still living there. It's the same reason you'd hang your sheets outside after someone was sick. The same reason hospital laundries weren't done in the dark. People understood this without needing to explain why it worked. They just knew it did, and they were right. You need real sun, not shade, not a cloudy day in a screened-in porch. And let them dry completely. A rag that's still damp when you bring it in will start growing things again almost immediately. Damp and dark is exactly what bacteria want. So leave them out until they're bone dry, stiff in the sun, warm to the touch. If you're inside in winter and you genuinely can't line dry, the dryer on high heat is fine. But the sun is better, and it's free. Here's how often to do this. Once a week, not once a month, not when they start to smell. Once a week, because by the time you can smell the problem has been there a while. If you have a lot of rags, batch them. I keep a small pot set aside just for this. I don't cook food in it anymore. That's worth mentioning. You don't want to boil rags in your soup pot and then make soup in it the next day. A secondhand pot from a thrift store works perfectly, costs almost nothing, and you know it's only ever for this. You can do the same thing with hand towels, pot holders, any cotton or linen cloth that spends time in the kitchen. Natural fibers hold up to boiling. Don't try this with anything synthetic. Microfiber especially doesn't want that kind of heat. Cotton and linen are what you want, and honestly, cotton and linen are what kitchen rags should be made of anyway. They're tougher, they clean better, and they last longer if you treat them right. Now here's the part I want you to think about. There is a whole shelf at the grocery store right now, a long shelf full of sprays and wipes and special kitchen sanitizing products aimed directly at this problem. Antibacterial, this kills 99% that. Every one of them has a label that talks about germs in the kitchen. Every one of them costs money. Some of them cost a lot of money if you're using them regularly. None of them are as effective as boiling water. That's just true. Boiling is more thorough than soaking rags in bleach. A study that actually looked at this found boiling beat chemical soaking for reducing bacteria in cloth, not slightly meaningfully. But there's no product in boiling water. There's no label. Nobody makes money off a pot and a stove. So nobody's going to run an ad explaining that the thing you already own in your kitchen does a better job than the thing they'd like to sell you. Same with the sun. It's free. Always has been. There's no way to put it in a bottle and charge you for it. So it doesn't get mentioned. What gets mentioned is the product, and the product needs to be bought again next month and the month after that. The pot of boiling water doesn't. I'm not saying there's something wrong with cleaning products across the board. I'm saying this. When something works better and costs nothing, and yet nobody's telling you about it, it's worth asking who benefits from you not knowing. So here's what I want you to do this week. Next time you pull your dish rags out of the laundry, the clean ones, the folded ones, put them in a pot instead of back in the drawer. Bring the water to a boil, add your baking soda, drop them in, let them go 15 minutes. Watch the water, then rinse them, hang them in the sun, and bring them in when they're dry. You'll fold them differently after that, because now you know what's actually in them, and more importantly, what isn't. One question for you in the comments. Has anyone else done this or something like it? Did your grandmother boil rags? Did you grow up watching this happen on a stove? I want to know. And if you try it this week for the first time, come back and tell me what color the water turned. I have a feeling I know.